Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tier 1 stream. First of all, I'd like to say it is wonderful to be back with the races and back with the streams. I'm excited to get going again. If you can't hear it already, I do have a bit of a blocked nose. I am slightly under the weather, so do bear with me. Whilst I still try and deliver some of the best comms I hope to deliver and be able to give you the best comms I've ever done before. We'll have to see. Here's to not dying on the stream, as I have done in the past. But we have ourselves a full grid for Tier 1. It is honestly, it is wonderful to see. It's always a nice surprise to have a full grid. And hopefully we can have ourselves a lot of cleaner racing and a lot more finishes across the line compared to Tier 2. I think we had 6 or 7 retirees. So we'll have to see how Tier 1 goes. These are some of the best drivers, or rather, I would honestly classify a lot of them, if not all of them, the best drivers we've ever had here for Phoenix. And it is always impressive to see what they do time in and time out. Our champion from last season, Soybean, is racing still with the Red Bulls. So Red Bull are looking like they've got a very, very strong lineup. Mick as well is in that seat for the second driver. Mick reserved for Red Bull a couple times. Really showed his true colours, really showed what he can do in that seat. And now we're going to see what's going to go on. There's been a lot of drivers moving around. If you have a look there, you can actually see quite a few names have got different emblems, different team emblems next to the name. And Cos Sylvie is opting to retire at the start of the session. I think he's going to try and do a spectacle last to first challenge for the first round of the season. Rico as well. But let's go through the lineup quickly whilst we go through for the first few minutes of qualifying. We can see an Alpine coming out the pits. If you haven't seen the news, I have retired as the Ferrari team principal. It has been a glorious few seasons for me. I was the TP since Season 3 all the way up until Season 8, winning 2 Constructors' Championship. And now for this season, Mr. Goat, who is also now in the seat, you can see him currently in P8, takes on the reins as the driver and TP for the team. And he is signed on Brizen. So Brizen, oh god, I can really hear the blocked nose coming in quite strongly. But Brizen, for the 3rd season in a row, will be signed on with Red Bull. Mr. Tachus, the 2-time F2 champion, continues on with Alfa Romeo, and his teammate is Gravy. Gravy, after a few seasons retired, sitting in the crowds, enjoying the races from a distance, he has opted to return to us and onto the track. And of course, McLaren team principal Wobby McQueen, he was racing in Tier 2 just earlier, in the stream just before this, actually, if you were there to see that. His teammate, sorry, not teammate, his Tier 1 lineup is GG Land, who's been racing for now. This is his 2nd season in the beautiful, beautiful orange car. Actually, no, it's his 3rd season in that orange car. And I think GG Land, you can see there, is on an out lap at the moment. And his teammate is Ryan Gosling. We were just on board with him now, provisionally in P1. But of course, this is just the start of qualifying. Drivers still need to set their best laps. And of course, let's see who's going to be the first driver to cross the line. I think it will be the likes of an Alpine. No, it's going to be Mix. Mix is going to be the first person to cross the line. The team principal for Haas. As we have a look at his lineup, he's got himself as well. Mix in that Tier 1 seat with Boosty as his teammate. So it's going to be quite an interesting season with a lot of drivers going everywhere. Cos Sylvie has moved from Alpine to AlphaTauri. Rico, who was fighting for the championship and unfortunately around Bahrain could not outscore Soybean, couldn't outscore Champ Bean for the championship, and he's moved over to AlphaTauri for the season to race alongside ZSD Zoltz, the AlphaTauri team principal for by far the longest time. I don't think he is actually the only driver and team principal to go on from Season 1, Day 1 I believe, to today as team principal. So that's 9 seasons long in the AlphaTauri seat. Along with the shuffles, Mercedes, Jakob in the chat, of course, supporting his team after winning Tier 2. Mintoki with a sensational drive managed to goes on to start the season off strong, putting the Silver Arrows at the top of the standings, I believe, with that P1. It was a very well-deserved victory for Mintoki. She's been racing with us for quite some time now. And honestly, I was expecting the race win to be a lot sooner, but you know what? It's come at the perfect time. Mr. Schuss crosses the line for the first provisional pole lap to 117.257. Pardon me. And we're going to see a lot of drivers now cross the line, boosting now with a 116.795. The time's going to keep on tumbling down, and I will go to the timings in just a second. As back to Mercedes is what I was trying to go through. Jakob, with that Tier 2 victory, has signed on Nadim. Now, Nadim was signed on for Mercedes at the start of the season last season, for Season 8, but unfortunately Nadim had to retire for personal commitments. So now he's back, and he is on the track today, currently sitting in P7, hasn't left the pits yet, and he is teammate to the first ever Phoenix triple champion. Shanae has won a championship in ACC, he has won a championship in F1, and he has won the third championship with our Dirt Rally 2 series. So he is our first Triple Crown winner for Phoenix in 3 different game leagues that we offer, and it is quite the spectacle to see what he can do. So 2 champions on for Mercedes, Mr. Nadim and Shanae, is quite a wonderful sight to see. Other drivers who have swapped around, I think we've only got 2 more teams to go through. Alpine have signed on JPJ, who I believe is not racing today, unfortunately, so we're not going to be able to see what he can do for us. And then we've also got a new driver for, I believe the team is called Semi Racing, Mr. Kazil. I do apologize if I mispronounce the names. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Kazil is racing this afternoon for Alpine. Alpine with 2 reserves, Dietz and Tix. The final team is Williams. Mia returning for Williams, and you can see Snaf there. Kansens. I really hope I pronounce your name. I've never actually tried pronouncing your Twitch name, so I do hope I pronounced that right. The ex-TP, he used to be the TP for Williams. He's then stepped down, and his assistant TP, I'm just going to go with Snaf, yeah. His assistant TP, Crumpet, has now been promoted for Season 9 to full-time team principal. And so let's see what Crumpet can do with a lineup of Mia and Cybersid, another name we have not seen in a long time. Now, in that time, we have had 6 minutes of qualifying gone. And in that 6 minutes, Boosty is on pole with a 16.7, Mick with a 16.8, and Ryan Gosling with a 17.0. So very close. You can see a few drivers have just put in banker laps. Julian with a 21.8, Skill Issue with a 26.5, and GG Land with a 31.5. So of course, these laps have got lots of improvement. I'm expecting, let's see, I'm hoping to see, I'm going to be optimistic and say top 5 in the 116s. At most, top 10 in the 116s. I think that is very much possible. As I mentioned, these are by far some of the fastest drivers, some of the best drivers we've ever seen race with us at Phoenix. So, it's certainly possible. So far, we've got to see still 8 drivers yet to set a lap. 3 of them have retired at the start of the session. So 5 more laps to be set. Let's have a quick look. I think Mr. Dietz is currently on a lap going through their first sector. The times to beat. So let's have a look. The first sector times to beat, I believe, is going to be around the 26-second mark. So as Dietz crossed the line, 26.8 for the Alpine driver. Scollop, currently sitting in P17, on an outlap, has somehow put in a better time. Okay, thank you, F1. You are amazing as always. Rico, taking a break for the season. The champion for Aston Martin, unfortunately, not racing this season. It is a shame to not see you on the track, good sir, but I think it'll be good to have a break. There's nothing wrong with having a break. I think a lot of drivers find that after having that season off or having a few races off, you come back even stronger. You come back with so much more pace and confidence in the car, and no one stands a chance against you. Crumpets not giving a Rico a chance to have a break. He's straight in there trying to get Rico on for a shot at Williams, as we see Dietz cross the line for a 17.147. You know what, Crumpets? I respect it. I do respect it. As I mentioned before, I'll just mention it one more time as we do approach the halfway mark for qualifying. If you can't hear it already, I do have a bit of a blocked nose. I am trying to clear this wee nail for the past week. So I do apologise if there are some quiet moments or moments where I sound really weird. I know there's going to be quite a few clips. My admin team are going to be probably taking the mick out of me a few times here and there for how I sound, how I mispronounce things. I do apologise for that. But I will... I am looking for a speedy recovery and hopefully not here for next week, but I will be back for round 3 and I will try and be healthier than ever for that race weekend. As let's have a look. I think Nadim is currently on a lap. Or rather, he's crossed the line already. He's really low on ERS. Let's have a look. Mr. Nadim in P15 has got loads of fuel and is low on ERS. So I think he might be trying to recharge perhaps before going for another lap, back-to-back laps. And of course, now it's invalidating the second sector. Mr. Soybean still yet to leave the pits and set a lap. The champion from last season, I think, has opted to do the same thing as his competitors around him. As Cos, Mia and Rico have retired at the start of the session. Perhaps Soybean also looking to go for a pretty much last to first finish. We'll have to see. As Mr. Mix crosses the line. Saint Skill Issue crosses the line for his second flying lap of the session this evening. And let's hope he can put it up there. I know there's going to be a lot of track improvement, of course, as time goes on. The grip will increase and the tyres will be almost as if they've got glue on them. For a lot of these drivers, they'll be able to fly through these sectors in spectacular fashion. And so far, Mix is really looking planted to the floor there. And now for the first sector, there is a Mercedes just ahead of him. Hopefully they can get out of the way. They are. Crosses the line, and he is just slightly slower than his previous lap. 1/100th of a second slower than his previous lap time. But we'll have to see what he can do in the second sector. I think it will be the second sector is where he backed off last time. So he's going to find quite a lot of improvement here. But will it be enough for a purple middle sector? It isn't. He actually matches it. So it was the third sector where he abandoned his lap. Right, here we go. Through the S's. Oh, and he just gets out of shape, just slightly coming out of corner 10. Crosses over the curb and now has invalidated his second run. I think he's going to still go for the line and see what he can do for his second flying lap. Around the final few corners, is he going to dive into the pits or is he going to complete the lap? I think, yeah, he's going to complete the lap. Let's see what he can provisionally set had he not run just a tad wide across the line. Mix with a potential, could have been a 1:16.8. That would have put him in P3, a mighty improvement as Boosty finds a lot of lap improvement, goes 3/10 quicker in the first, second, third sector, all fairly equal on improvements. And he goes in with a 1:16.5. Now 3.5 tenths is the gap. Well, actually, 240 thousandths of a second exactly between, or 340, sorry, between him and Mick. So Haas and Red Bull have got quite a close match going on there. As Scallop finds himself just, what is that, 12 1/1000ths of a second behind P2. So the top 3, the only drivers to get into the 1:16s. I think I'm feeling a little too optimistic to say that the top 15, or the top 5 can get in the 1:16s. I feel like I might be a little too optimistic with that, but we'll have to see. As Gravy, he's not on a lap now. You can see he's really low on ERS. He's got a Haas driver just ahead of him. 1:18.1 is his provisional lap. And if you haven't seen already, as well in the chat, there's been some great banter between Gravy and between Rico. So we've got a lot of, just like Soybean and Rico last season, we've got a lot of bromance, a lot of friendship on this circuit between a lot of the drivers. So it is going to be competitive both on the track and off the track in practice. It's going to be very interesting, very exciting to see what they can do. As, oh wow, okay, that is a time I did not expect as Mick crossed the line with a 0.004 of a second improvement over Boosty to take pole position at the moment. It is a 1:16.505 against a 16.509. I think that was a very fast Nadim just coming through there. Unfortunately, there wasn't anywhere Mick could go, sitting as far left as he can. All over the place is that Mercedes, though. He's already invalidated his lap, and I can't imagine where he's invalidated it, but he seems to be very, very squirmy. His rear end is very snappy, it looks like. I managed to mess up 2 laps in a row. Mix, my friend, it will happen to the best of us. You still have 4.5 minutes remaining. I'm sure you will find the time to take a breath, take a moment to calm yourself. Oh, as we see a bit of a hop, skip, and a jump from Nadim there. Take the time, take a breath. I know you can do it. I know every driver on this grid can put in at least 117s. I reckon every driver on this grid can comfortably put in a 117 lap time. And you're without a doubt one of those drivers. As I do see there, Mr. Soybean himself, the champion from last season, the man on fire last season, almost had a flawless season. He almost was our Max Verstappen, is on for an outlap, and he's coming around the final few corners. He's going to go for a one-lap wonder. He does have a Mercedes there in the way. Thankfully, Nadim dives out the way, and now coming around the final corner and across the line. The champion for Season 8 is going to start his first flying lap of the session, and potentially his only flying lap of the session if he hasn't got enough fuel. If we have a quick look at the fuel situation, I don't think he's got enough, and he's already invalidated it coming out the first corner. He's already invalidated it, so potentially he might have enough fuel to get around. His tyres aren't going to be as fresh as they once were. But we'll have to see what Soybean can do. Currently, the only driver on the grid you can see actually on the mini-map there, I believe that will be the likes of Ryan Gosling coming out of the pits now to start his final flying lap of the session. So, of course, every driver you can see there on the telemetry screen at the bottom, full application of the throttle and half application of the brake to help burn some of that fuel. Of course, you want to try and do a qualifying lap with the minimum fuel. Put the car as light as you possibly can to get as much raw pace out of that car as you can. Julian just behind as well. But it is now a slow leak coming out of the pits as all the drivers are creeping their way out. I'm actually going to turn up the audio settings for myself. Hopefully it is not deafening loud for the rest of the stream. Oh, let's do that instead. Let's do 5 and 6. Let's see how that goes. Every driver but GG Land. Nope, here comes GG Land. There we go. Every driver is now out of the pits, and Soybean is the only driver on a hot lap. Here we go. Soybean, the champion from last season. Hopefully that's not too loud for you folks, as I have just changed the settings. But let's see what the champion can do. It looks for a moment there he's got a bit of traffic. He did have a bit of a moment as well on the rear end. He's got clear traffic though now for the first sector. He's going to set a 26.5 purple first sector on his first try. The champion is on fire. Defending champion is on fire. Second sector now. Basically just a few straights. That's all it is. Now into 9 and 10. Purple middle sector is a 43.9 for the Red Bull. Perfectly hitting 9. Perfectly hitting 10. Onto the curb. Almost loses the car. Keeps it very well under control. And now for the final sector. Just a few corners left to go. There's a lot of traffic ahead of him actually. Hopefully they don't get in the way at all. Oh, and there is a car in the way, and he's trying to go into the final corner. It's going to be his teammate, actually. The Red Bull is ahead of him. His teammate, could that be impeding? Could that be losing him time? Cross the line, he's going to have a tow, and it is going to be the new fastest lap of the session. It's a 16.421, but could there have been a lot more improvement if his teammate hadn't been so close there into the final few corners? We do not know, but Mick goes on to start his final flying lap of the session. 4 drivers now onto the 116s, and it is going to be an absolute cluster to try and keep up with every driver crossing the line for their flying lap of the session. And Mix, if you're listening, I am looking forward to see you set a good lap. Final few corners for the man in white. The team principal for Haas, he is going strong, he's gone really well last season, and now for this season, second season in a row, he's going to cross the line. It's going to be a 116.741 for Haas and for Mix. That is an incredible lap. I did say you could do it. And we have the top 6 now in the 116s. Julian with a 116.943. Currently a provisional 1-2 for Red Bull. 3-4 for Haas. Let's have a look who else is on the lap. We've got Scallop going for a lap. He's got his teammate just ahead of him, actually. Are we going to see? Yeah, they're going to be some team orders. Mr. Goat is leading on his team. 0.2 of a second improvement, that second sector. A wonderful toe from Ferrari, sorry. Can Scallop do it, though? He's only got a few quarters left to go. Can he make that toe worth it and keep up the speed, keep up the pace? As more drivers are crossing the line, I do apologize for not keeping up with all of them. Dietz as well now with across the line on 116.968, but now Scallop going to stay on board with him as he crosses the line. Could it be another 116? It is going to be a 116.524. He splits the Haas's, he takes the second row of the grid, and he is just he's marginally slower than Boosty, 15 thousandths of a second slower than Boosty, and that is going to be qualifying for Tier 1 for the round 1. Unfortunately, I did not manage to catch a lot of the drivers across the line, but the top 8 are in the 116s. Vers with a 117.025. Ryan Gosling for McLaren, sorry, is just 27 thousandths of a second behind. We got the top 14 all in the 117s or lower, and unfortunately, Mr. Nadeem, I think, may have purposely invalidated his laps each time around. Quite a shock to see him not put in a bad lap. But there you have it, folks. That is qualifying. It is a 1/10 gap between the top two, 4 thousandths of a second between Mick and Boosty. That is the closest we have seen in quite some time, and it is brilliant to see a wonderful teamwork from a lot of the drivers, all getting a toe. Some of them putting in some of the lap times I've never seen before. Soybean, I'm still a little speechless about your lap, mate. I know you're gonna watch the replay. Congratulations on pole, really well deserved. But how do you do that in one lap? I don't know, and I would love to know if you think you might have lost time in that final sector, because I think whilst the toe is very powerful on the circuit, certainly would have lost a little bit of pace coming around that final few corners rather. But still, really well done from all parties included. And so now it is just the waiting game for the race. I will pop a message to the Tier 1 drivers. We'll ready up in just over 60 seconds. And hopefully in that time I can recover as best I can and prepare for what is going to be quite a chaotic race. 29 laps around Melbourne, around Albert Park rather, in Melbourne. And for those of you who haven't seen it already, I will not spoil the race that happened this morning. It happened just 15 hours ago. But we had the real-life Grand Prix as well happen in Melbourne, which... Oh, and everyone's ready up already. All right, I guess we're not going to do the 60 seconds. Here we go, folks. 5 red lights. And away we go. But double Red Bull on the front row of the grid. Looks like Soybean got away really well, really cleanly as well. Already with a 1.5 gap. His teammate just slots him behind so far. Let's have a look into the first corner. It is looking pretty clean for all the drivers. If we give it to the Sex corner, I'm very worried to see any collisions, but so far it's looking very clean. The top 6, top 7, top 8 are all very clean and getting through and across the line. 2 wide, 3 wide for a lot of the drivers. So far, only Gravy to lose 5 positions, Dees to lose 3, and Vers up 1 place. So far, a very good start for all these drivers. Look at that train go, and this is going to be, I think, one of the closest battles we're ever going to see, as we have our first retiree and we're going to have our first virtual safety car. We've not even hit the second line for the second sector, and unfortunately the team principal for AlphaTauri has retired from the session. Fortunately, a pretty big collision at the back of the grid, and I do apologise for not keeping up with what happened at the back there. But Nadeem up 3 places, Kosilvi up 2, Mia up 2, and Rico up 2. Unfortunately, 1 retiree and 1 Alfa Romeo driver down 4 places. Virtual safety car shouldn't stay for too long, but already you can see Soybean and Boosty 1 second apart in the under virtual safety car only. And of course, they have to reduce their speed by, I think it is 30% or 40% or down to 40% racing speed. So they have to reduce quite a lot. And if they don't time it right, if Soybean doesn't time it right, Boosty could catch up and be right on the gearbox of the Red Bull. or if Soybean times are right and Boosty doesn't, he could find himself with a 2-second gap quite comfortably. So virtual safety car should be ending shortly, and it will blink on our screen. There it is, and it's done. And Soybean has actually been caught sleeping, I think, as Boosty's going to go too wide now around the outside. Can he go late on the brakes? He is going to go late on the brakes. He's going to go too wide, and of course, with the soft compound tire there, you can see he's got that much extra grip, and across and into the second sector now, we're going to have Boosty to lead the race, and there you go, there you have it, folks, sorry. The tire difference, Ryan Gosling, Vers, and Boosty on the soft tires, of course, they're going to have a lot more grip, and that's why they've climbed a few places. Rico and Cos on the hard tires, although they started at the back of the grid, they've still managed to optimize on the offset that they've got on those tires, on those older tires. They'll still push and still be able to gain position, and a lot of them are deploying ERS. Of course, safety car will not safety car, DRS will not be enabled to the end of this lap, as we have Vers losing out on a position to Gigelan. Gigelan absolutely on fire on the mediums. We have a look at the positions. He gained 2. We're going to see the Alpine try and go for a move on the Ferrari ahead of him. Mr. Goat trying to defend from Dietz behind. Unfortunately, Dietz is not quite close enough to think about going for a move. The Mercedes as well, looking to the inside. Not quite close enough, but look at that train go. As we come around the final corner, 19 drivers now cross the line for lap 3, and DRS is now enabled for the session. Will be enabled for the rest of the race now, unless we have a safety car. And DRS can only be enabled if you're within a second of the car in front. DRS is where the drag reduction system will enable you to open your rear wing. God, I'm really messing up my words, and I do apologize for that. Open up the rear wing, and you can gain up to 17 miles per hour. 17 extra miles per hour on the straights. And there are 3 straights. We do have a a Ferrari Scallop, who was up in the top 5. He's now gone tumbling down the order. He's now down to 19th place after a spin in that second sector. What was once quite a beautiful train, unfortunately, has resulted in 2 drivers now, as Williams is gone tumbling down the order. And now 2 drivers have come out of this this tussle, and unfortunately is down quite a few places, as we have a bit of a battle going on between Ryan Gosling and and between Julian. I do apologize for the coughing, folks. As Ryan Gosling, of course, is absolutely on fire. The soft compound tires are going to work really well for him in these opening laps. And he's going to have so much more pace against the drivers around him. Of course, the hard compound tires are not going to have that much to work with, at least for the first, I think, 5 laps. The hard tires are not going to have much to work with, but they will slowly heat up. They will slowly be able to work on grabbing that temperature, grabbing that grip that they need to be able to battle with the other drivers around. As we do have another yellow flag at the back there, and I think that's going to be Gravy, unfortunately, just tumbling down the order again. Fastest lap for it was going to be Ryan Gosling. Now it's going to be Rico crossing the line. Rico on the hard compound tires, absolutely blitzing the circuit. A 120.294, sorry, for the AlphaTauri driver. Absolutely on fire. Currently sitting in P15. And we're going to stay on board here with Ryan Gosling. Of course, the soft compound tires is going to be the most competitive tires in the opening stages of this race. Thank you, Rose. I'll take a breath in just a moment. But all the eyes right now are going to be on Ryan and on Vers, as Boosty has to just keep on putting in the lap after lap after lap. And here comes Ryan Gosling now with the DRS. He's going to go for a move down the inside now and into 9 and 10 now, comfortably ahead into the braking zone. Goes up into P5. McLaren on fire. Teammate currently sitting in P9 as Nadim gets ahead of Tix coming through the same few corners, and Nadim just running a bit wide. And we have a double DNF now, and we're going to have a full safety car as Vers and Goat. Vers and Mr. Goat have retired from the session coming out of turn 10, sorry. The Ferrari team principal, and actually the driver for Ferrari in Tier 2, now reserving into Tier 1 for Williams, is now out of the session. 3 retirees, and we're only 4 laps into this race. And we're going to have quite a few drivers, of course, look to try and pit now. If you pit now for the hard compound tires, or pit for a new set of mediums. Many drivers are going to serve their mandatory stop, but also many of them are now committing to a 2-stop race. You only lose half the time in the pits. You only lose 13 seconds in the pits under a safety car, a virtual safety car, whereas under a full race condition, you lose about 21 seconds, if I remember correctly. Whilst we have this safety car and a flurry of drivers all coming out of the pit very quickly, if you give me just a moment, let's have a look at some information a dear friend has sent me so I can get some better information to tell you guys. So, for Australia. Pit loss time is 18 seconds. There you go. 18 seconds under safety car. Oh, and Boosty's been disqualified from the session. Boosty overtook the safety car. Unfortunately, has now been disqualified from the session for overtaking the safety car. And so now that's going to be our 4th retirement of the session. And it's going to be a provisional 1-2 for Red Bull. Oh, and I'm still dying. How am I dying under safety car? This is when talking should be easiest. Team principal for Mercedes, of course, cheering on his own team. Currently sitting at P9 and P14. The two champions sitting in quite strong positions. Both of them opted to go for a double stack into the pits and grab themselves a fresh set of tyres. Wobby McQueen, the team principal for McLaren as well, showing some praise and some love for... Oh, wait, no. Okay, I was saying showing some praise and some love for his drivers. He's just said to GG Land that he doesn't love GG Land anymore and is hoping for no spins. Well, GG Land, don't worry, buddy. I still love you. I hope to see you succeed very well in this race, even if your team principal has no confidence in you right now. Hopefully that confidence rebuilds as the race goes on, as Jakob is stating that they are cooking out there. Mercedes have cooked up quite a lineup. I think a lot of teams have cooked up quite the lineup. And I think it's going to be a very competitive battle for the championship between the likes of Red Bull, Haas, Mercedes, Aston Martin, AlphaTauri, Ferrari, and I believe Alpine are going to be quite well in the fight. McLaren will definitely be in the fight as well. It's difficult to say which driver is going to be in the fight, which drivers aren't going to be in the fight. Of course, I want to see them all in the fight. But naturally, as time will go on, you will start to see some of these trains start to form. You're going to see the Red Bulls fighting only with, let's say, the McLarens at the top of the field eventually into the season. So it's a matter of time before we start to see those little trains start to form. But so far in this race, although we've had 4 retirements in this race, 1 disqualification, unfortunately, for Boosty, as he's mentioned in the chat, an esports ready game. I do agree, it is certainly an esports ready game. He did get disqualified for overtaking the safety car, and it's a blunder to know how a multi-million-dollar company, or a multi-billion-dollar company even, can make so many flaws in their game. But we're not here to critique a game that we so love to play every week and and basically practice every day for a lot of these drivers. We're here to watch some great racing. And now we've got the safety car coming in just a moment. I'm going to get rid of the tyres in just a moment, but keep in mind there, the tyre selection that we have. What is that? 8 drivers have pitted 4 fresh tyres. Mia as well. Mia pitted a lap earlier. The top 7 are on old tyres. Ryan Gosling is on the softs. Now I want to remove that from my menu there so we can see all of the drivers, as Soybean is going to lead the pack, and this is going to be really interesting to see. EA does kind of do bad things, but we'll have to see. I don't see any desync. I'd have to see what the drivers are reporting. Unfortunately, I don't see any desync on my end. I do apologize, but here we go as we cross the line now, and the race is going to be restarted now. And I don't think Mick's going to go for a move here at all, as Tix is actually going to go for a move. His teammate behind him, Dietz, just having to cut the first corner, unfortunately losing out position to Cos Silvi now. Losing out position to Rico as well. So Rico now into the point scoring position. And actually now, speak of the devil, and unfortunately Rico spun around. You can see him there, just having to do a quick burnout to get the car moving again. Has lost out on a position. He was in P10, he's dropped down to P16. That was not a commentate curse, and I do apologize for that. But we'll have to see what's happened. There is Cos Silvi, has retired. Safety car, okay. There is a lot going on here as Julian has received a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision. A lot is going on. Bear with me, folks. I just need one moment. As now we're going to see a lot of drivers, 6 drivers now going to the pits And Mr. Tachus will now take the lead of the race. Mr. Real Go, I DNF because GG Land glitched into me. Safety car teleported back 3 times and I got screwed over by that. Bear with me, folks. I will have a look into it. Unfortunately, the call is not up to me. It is up to race control. And so I will try and find out what the plan will be. Do apologise, folks. Just waiting on word from race control to call it. Bear with me, folks. I do apologise, but safety car is going to be in this lap, and we are going to get racing shortly as we wait to hear word from the race control. GG Land currently leading the pack. I do apologise for the eerie silence there, but GG Land, if you have a look at the telemetry, he's already gone, coming out of the final corner. ERS is on, and he's got himself a 4/10 gap already to Ferrari behind him. And this is not the first time GG Land has had to race on a restart there. So it is just a matter of waiting. There we go. And I think the call has been made. We're going to see it in just a moment as we see Scarlett now fighting side by side around the outside now on GG Land, fighting for the lead of the race. As GG Land is pushed wide. As Shanae is now taken on into the lead. Right, hold on there, bear with. And I believe it is confirmed now. I believe a red flag is going to be called, as now there is another safety car. Gigeland has now retired from the session. Bear with me, folks, as there is the ping for red flag. All drivers have now been directed to leave the session. I do apologize for the massive delay there, cause Boosty, Real Go, everyone, I do apologize for the massive delay, but unfortunately as a commentator I cannot make the call. It is down to race control, and the call has now been made. So the session will be restarted, and we are going to be able to get racing again. Every driver should be able to join again. So it is now just a matter of time. What I'm going to do for everyone now, we are going to pop on the starting soon screen. I do again apologize for the massive delay there on the decision. I'll pop on the starting soon screen. You are going to watch that for a little bit, and I'll come back to you as soon as we can once the next session is live for you all. Bear with me, folks.